welcome. Just gonna make sure that we're live. Looks like we are. Welcome everybody. Today the plan is to finish off this animation, or I guess we're still gonna do like compositing and such in the future, but at the moment we just need to add some fire effects animation. So if we just take a look at what we've got so far. Yeah, I think we're really getting there. Cool. Let's see. Nobody's here yet, that's alright. Just gonna turn on the roughs. So that's the fire animation that we've got so far. Alright, let's start. Add a grease pencil object, call it fire. Let's make a new fire 01 material. Set it to the fill. For now, let's just choose a random red color. We can stylize it later. And we'll go until we first see some flames here. Alright, we've got to make sure that's behind the character. At all times. Alright. Okay, that's alright. I'm just going to add the noise modifier. Cool. I'm not happy with the shape though, so I'm just going to do that again. Okay. I'm going to need a holdout material too for these holes. Okay. Big fan of your work. I recently had success animating in Blender. Are you able to make an add-on for rigging characters in 2D? I mean, I've made an add-on that helps part of rigging in 2D. You know, the SmartBone add-on is what it's called. It's not currently working in the latest version of Blender. I need to get onto that, but I've heard that people find that helpful. But I think the built-in tools for rigging in Blender are actually pretty good. They don't need a lot of help, especially if you keep it simple. But yeah, I'm glad to hear you've had success with Blender. That's awesome. That's annoying. No, it's fine. It's on 4s now, so I have to come back and animate the in-betweens, which is fine. Alright, let's do this. Okay, I understand the eraser tool and grease pencil work strange, not like in any other graphics editor. I remember an artist have to create a layer which will act as an eraser. Any other way? Yeah, so I know exactly what you mean. There's a few different things that are a bit strange with grease pencil. So if I'll just make a new layer and I'll just have a new material. So every stroke is made up of a bunch of points. You can see here. Actually, I'll just turn off some of these modifiers. So yeah, all of these points are how the stroke is made up, and there are different ways of like erasing it. I say in quotation marks because they all do different things. So first of all, if you're in draw mode, you can use the eraser tool, and it looks interesting. You know, if I reduce the intensity of that though, oh wait, why is that not working? If I use this, wait, no, why is that? Okay, I don't know why, but sometimes it leaves part of the stroke because it's just like reducing the opacity of the stroke. The other way to erase something is to create a holdout material. So if you set a new material, set it to fill. Let me just make sure you can see that. Oh, I can't quite tell. Oh yeah, no, it's alright. Set it to fill, and you set it to, you check the holdout button here. This one here. And then you can just draw with that material. Oh, I solved you can draw with that material, and it kind of creates, it takes away from like what you're drawing, you know. And you can see that these have their strokes as well, and you can adjust it in edit mode. It's just a very strange drawing tool that has a lot of advantages in the way that it works, but it's unlike anything else out there. You weren't watching stream? Oh yeah, I was just saying about how I've made an add-on that helps with part of the rigging process. It's called the SmartBone add-on. But I don't think I really need to make an add-on for rigging 2D characters, because actually the tools that are built into Blender are pretty good. But it just depends. I might realize, oh, there's something else that I can solve with an add-on. Yeah, this character is just regular rigging, just attaching grease pencil objects to bones in an armature. Have you worked on some cool cartoons, or are they under NDA? I have worked on some cool cartoons. I've worked on a show called Bad Jelly, based on Bad Jelly the Witch by Spike Milligan. I really enjoyed that. I think that's released almost everywhere. It's released in New Zealand and Australia and Canada and the UK. And I think it might also be releasing in France soon, or maybe already has. I really enjoyed working on that show. That's a good one. I'm also currently working on one called B with Z. That's really nice. Unfortunately, I can't show you anything from that because, yeah, it hasn't been released yet. Still very much in production. just animating two things. Just wanted to achieve a level of anime detail in the style of Ghost in the Shell and start showing my idea for a story I'm working on for a decade now. Wow. This comes after I tried using Moho, which didn't work for me at all. Okay, yeah. I think that makes sense. For that kind of style, yeah, Moho is an awesome tool, but I can imagine it would feel a little bit like you're fighting against it if you're going for that sort of look. Yeah, no, that's awesome though, and I'm glad that Blender's been a good option for you. You work too much, fair enough. Yeah, I feel like a lot of animators feel that way, where it's like you've got all these things that you want to do, but you end up pushing yourself too hard. I mean, just take what I'm doing now, for example. I just spent all week animating on a TV show, and now I'm sitting here on a Saturday doing exactly the same thing. But hopefully that won't come back to bite me, hopefully it's actually a good thing and healthy and lovely, you know. I'm glad for you. Do you find using Toon Boom better than Blender for 2D animation? Nose seems more effective. I'm not gonna say that one's better than the other, but I do love Toon Boom's node system. I gotta say, I do wish Blender had something similar. However, I think it really just depends on what you're going for, what kind of workflow you want. Oh, but exciting news! I mentioned in a previous live stream that I'd won a license for Toon Boom on like a competition, the same competition that I'm making this animation for. I don't like that. Hang on. But let me show you something. If we open up Terminal. I finally got it working. I'll open this scene. This is a scene from one of my friend's student films that I was gonna help with, but I ended up not being able to because Toon Boom wasn't working. But now it is working, sort of. The audio won't play, but that's another problem. Yeah. So I'm really excited about the fact that I've got Toon Boom, but in the meantime, very happy about Blender. I am a Linux user. I love Linux. I don't know. I mean, okay. Yes, obviously it means doing things with like Toon Boom is more difficult, and I can't use Adobe products, which is really a positive thing if you think about it. But the actual everyday moment-to-moment experience of using Linux is just so much better than Windows. What happened here? Ah, that's what happened. Okay, cool. Okay, yeah, that's why it wasn't looking good. I had the smooth modifier turned on, but I'd turned off the simplify modifier, so it was smoothing a lower resolution version. You can use the polygon tool, makes those flames instead of the brush tool. Yep, no, I can absolutely do that. Um, but and that's good for precision. But I find that at the moment, at least, I'm able to do it much faster. Like this is what the workflow would look like with the polygon tool. Oh, I need to increase the strength. Okay, cool. Like it's not bad. Actually, this is better. Thank you for the suggestion. Hang on, just wanna. Okay. Alright, now I just want to add a little bit of curve in places. Is that better? I mean, that was a bit slower, I think, if anything. It's more precise, though. I think I'm gonna go back to the brush tool. Yeah, I remember. I think it took me a while to realize that you could extrude a polygon line just like anything else. That was definitely a life changer for me. You know, so much more useful. Oh, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, you have a good day too, or a good night rather. Oof. Yes, this is cutout animation. You can see if we, you can see the bones here. You know, but it's kind of a hybrid animation because it's a very simple rig, and then I go through and I warp the drawings to match exactly what I want, which allows me to get weird looking poses like this. I'll just show you what I have so far. Yeah, so it's Human Torch from Fantastic Four, setting himself on fire and forgetting that that's his superpower, I guess. Does the classic stop, drop, and roll. Yeah, yeah. So everything's rigged. You can see all the bones doing its thing. Also, I've documented the process on live streams, so you can always go back and watch those if you're interested in how I went about that. Assuming, okay, definitely need to watch. Cutout animation seems more appealing than hand-drawn animation. I am animating things using 3D figurative rotoscopes and stuff. Oh, that sounds very tedious. Yeah, no, I'd definitely look into cutout animation. It can be really fun. I think a lot of people don't realize how flexible cutout animation can be because the only time that they recognize cutout animation is when it's really obvious. So like they look at something like BoJack Horseman or something like that where you can see the individual body parts being rotated around pivot points, you know, and you think, ah, that's cutout animation. But then they watch something like Hilda and they just assume, oh, that must be traditional frame by frame, when it's in fact still rigged, just a bit more. It's just a different style, rather, you know. I think also a lot of animators get intimidated by rigged animation for some reason. I'm not really sure why. It's actually a lot of fun. Though I do understand, you know, some people, like when you haven't done it before, it does look pretty intimidating. I remember when I first saw the node system in Toon Boom, I was like, whoa, what is that? But now I love it, you know. Man, I feel like I'm almost done, but I'm gonna have to go back and do a bunch of in-betweens, which is gonna be annoying. And I also think I want more than just one color on the fire. So I really am gonna have to go back and do more work. Yeah, no, I agree about the about Toon Boom. I love the tool, but I do not like their pricing structure. And honestly, I think it's a bit dumb the way they do it because it means that people don't try it, you know? People go, "Oh, it's too expensive," and then it's only these big studios that ever use it. If they just had like, I don't know how to approach it, but if they just appealed to individual users a bit more, people getting into animation for the first time, I think they'd do a lot better in the long term. But yeah, Blender's an awesome tool. And earlier today I was playing around with OpenToons. I've always struggled with the rigging tools in OpenToons, but they do have some tools. That's also a good software. I think Moho also is a good option. Even though that's also expensive, uh, it's one of the only animation tools that is still like a perpetual license where you buy it once and then you have that version of the software forever. Yeah, exactly. OpenToons is a lot. Oh wait, hang on. Oh, what was I thinking? I need to have this surrounded until he's at the back to normal color. Just gonna turn on onion skins. Where's my mouse? Uh oh. I think Blender just crashed. Yep. I think that was my fault though. You have Moho. There's a lot more trouble learning about rigging. And there's barely any tutorial vids out there. Yeah, it is a bit lacking in tutorials. But I think it is a good tool. I think especially recently there's been more and more, maybe not tutorials, but like demonstrations of what it can do. And I think if you put in the effort, you'll find it's a good tool. But if you prefer Blender, you know, I'm not gonna not gonna try and dissuade you from using Blender. Love Blender. Hey, Split Specs, nice to have you here. Glad you could join us. Blender 5 been crashing more than previous versions? That's interesting. Yeah, maybe. It's crashed twice for me so far, which is not a lot for software. You know, software usually crashes way more than 2 times in like a few days. But, and I think in that case it might have been my mistake. I was like doing something in a bad way. But yeah, Blender is unusually stable for software, so maybe 5 is a bit worse than usual. Have a good day, Lugarius. Glad you could join us. What are tools or deformers you miss most from Toon Boom that you miss most in Blender? Yeah, deformers are amazing in Toon Boom. I don't know how they do it. It'd be amazing to have something even vaguely similar to that in Blender. But I've actually found that with this new system of rigging that I've developed, where I just keep the actual armature really simple, and then alongside that I just animate the grease pencil objects by warping it with sculpt mode and such. It is actually kind of similar to using deformers, so I don't miss it too much. However, there is one thing. In Blender, grease pencil keyframes just are animated this way, right? So like in Toon Boom, for example, each of these keyframes wouldn't be the drawing. It would just be a keyframe that points to a drawing that's stored in the object, right? So the object has a list of drawings that it contains, and each keyframe says, hey, display this drawing at this time. And it's really cool because it means it's really easy to add new drawings, but also if you want to reuse a drawing, that's also really easy, right? Whereas the way grease pencil works is if I want to reuse this drawing for the head later on, I have to duplicate this, and Blender treats that as a separate drawing to the first one, which is sometimes useful, but most of the time I'd rather have the option to either say use the same drawing, so if I edit it, it changes in both places, or duplicate it so that it's a different one, you know? Yeah, no instancing, exactly. Whereas and so for example, if you're trying to rig a character with like hand poses, Toon Boom's version is so much better because you can create a bunch of poses that you can switch between as you're animating your character. And then, oh, I need a new pose, so you just click a button and now you can draw a new hand. Whereas in Blender, you either have to duplicate things along and then you can draw a new hand, or you have to use a time offset modifier, which is also cool, but it means it becomes way more difficult to add new poses, you know. Does grease pencil object support linked duplicates? Yes. So if you select an object and you press Alt D, and then you alter it, it changes on both of them. but grease pencil keyframes can't be duplicated like that, unfortunately. Yeah, I would love it if they implemented some sort of system. I feel like it would need kind of a big overhaul in how grease pencil works, because right now the actual vertex data, like the where every vertex is stored within this keyframe. So they'd have to change it so that it's stored somewhere else under the object, and then these keyframes are just saying which drawing to display, you know? There might be a way to mimic that, the behavior I want using like geometry nodes, but I don't really know how to use geometry nodes, so I have no idea. Okay, before I start doing in-betweens, I need to find whether I holes in the fire, and I need to add those holes. So, for example, here. So it's maybe like one layer of abstraction between the timeline and the drawing. Yeah, that's exactly right. If they could just add that, my life would be so much easier. Oh, it would be incredible. Okay, I think I did it. So now I just need to add in-betweens. So the first bit doesn't really need anything, and then that's the first in-between that I need. Now for some reason, the way I'm working right now is I'm streaming my main monitor up top, and when I need to draw something, I'm drawing it on a separate window down below. For some reason, when I turn on onion skins, no onion skins. So I have no idea what's going on there. But I may have to switch to my lower screen. Yeah, I think geometry nodes is my only hope in that regards, but I just have no idea where to start learning that stuff. I just need to dedicate some time to it, but it's time I don't have, unfortunately. Oh, it didn't have onion skins because I was in render view. Okay. Okay, I don't like the fact that all of these have onion skins, so I want to turn those off. Is that good? I think... Okay, now we're good. Am I a full-time animator? I am a full-time animator. I'm very fortunate in that regard. But yeah, I'm really happy about my job. Oh man, this is actually kind of tricky to in-between. What is going on there? I have no idea how to in-between this. I'll figure it out though. I might create a new material. Oh, a new material just for sketching. Okay. So it went from like this to being like this. Okay, I'm thinking the in-between should look something like this. No, that doesn't make any sense. Okay, I think it needs to go like this. Yeah. Okay, cool. Select the brush that's better suited. Something like this. You know what? It doesn't actually matter that much because it's so fast at this point that I can kind of just do a totally separate drawing and it won't look too bad. Okay. Does that look right at all? No, it's gone the wrong way. Oh, finding in-betweening fire really difficult. I'm gonna in-between a different frame for now. I'm gonna turn off the roughs. I'm gonna turn on the onion skin so you can see what I'm doing. Sorry. Oh, I see what you mean. Where like you draw circles that just move up, and then you just draw what's in between them, that sort of thing. Yeah, I've tried that. I think I was kind of visualizing that when I was animating it originally, but now I just need to make it a bit smoother. It's kind of like Okay, I think I'm gonna start doing this. Boom, boom. Keep selecting the wrong brush. Didn't think about this. I need to disable the fill on this material so that it's just a stroke. Let's see how that looks. Okay. Now let's do it. I'm just going to temporarily add a thickness modifier. Set it to uniform thickness and get it real thin. So no matter what thickness I draw it at. That should be out here, I think. I could use like a particle system or like an actual fire simulation. You know, it is Blender. I could do all sorts of visual effects stuff. But I really like the look that I've got in the rough animation, so I really want to just do it frame by frame, even though it does make things a little more difficult. Okay. I'm confused. Which one's the before frame? Don't know why I'm struggling so much with this. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah. Thanks though. Appreciate it. Okay, green is before. I think that's why I'm getting confused with is in Toon Boom green means after. Red means before. So maybe I should just change my preferences here. So even though Blender is my main Blender is my main software of choice, whether I like it or not, I am using Toon Boom all day every day at work. How to change onion skin colors in Blender. Viewport overlays. So this. Oh no, I can see here 2D layers, onion skinning, custom colors. Yeah, I want before to be red, and I've actually in Toon Boom I've set after to be blue instead of green, which is the default. So yeah, now I know, because red just feels like the before frame, you know? I just need to have another layer to help guide me through this. Okay? Because this is one frame. This is another frame. Perhaps I don't need to in between this frame. I can just shift the next frame closer. And do another frame here. No, I can't do that. You know what? I just need to focus on the previous frame, not the next frame. didn't. I was doing so well and I didn't have it all in view. Hang on. Ah. Oh, beautiful. That's what it should look like. Oh, what's happening now? I missed one. Okay. I can do this again. Okay. I got mixed up again. Oh. Did I do it? I think I did it. Oh, good enough. That's what they call good enough. Do I know Harry Styles? Not personally. I heard from someone at work that they put out a new album or something. I haven't heard it though. Why do you ask? Do I ever use master controllers and Toon Boom for pose-based rigs, like joysticks and sliders in After Effects? I do, but they're really different. Like they don't work the same as like sliders and like smart bones in Moho, because like, or action constraints in Blender, because the way those things work is you have like your base pose, and then it takes all the bones and the different elements and it adds something onto the pose, right? So let's say you pose your facial expression and then you move the slider to turn the head or something. It will add that transformation onto the existing pose. Whereas master controllers and Toon Boom, they just the way they work is it's like an automating a copy paste of a keyframe, right? So you've got a bunch of keyframes with all your poses at the end of the timeline or wherever, and the master controllers are just making it easier to copy and paste those keyframes. So if you pose face and then you try and touch the head turn controller, it'll suddenly snap back to the default expression, you know? So it's a bit of an odd system. So I generally just copy and paste them manually unless it's like something that's a bit like blinks and such. I usually use a master controller, but often I'll just copy and paste things. Yeah, exactly. They use replace instead of add. Exactly. Which is sometimes useful, but other times not. Mm. This is one of the default frames, and yeah, I think I have to get rid of it. I'm gonna save a new version, and then I'm gonna get rid of it, and then I'm gonna go and set blank keyframe. I see. It seems like you get a lot of perspective interpolation for free. Maybe if the armature was driven by the poses rather than the drawings. If the armature was driven by the poses rather than the drawings. I'm not sure if I know exactly what you mean. Could you like reword that maybe? I'm sorry, I'm just misunderstanding. Okay. I'm already regretting my decision to delete this frame. Okay, actually, I think this one was too slow. This one. Okay. Yeah, there we go. That feels more natural. Like the grease pencils are parented to the bone, so you're using a master controller to give, just to drive the armature that moves the grease pencil. But the grease pencils are free to do whatever. I think that's similar to the rigs in the video you just put out, Raymond and the other character. Yes, no, I know what you mean now. Yeah, no, exactly. Oh, okay, that wasn't Blender crashing, that was me accidentally pressing the close application button. Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. So I think it definitely is the reason that so in the last video I just put out, you could totally use a SmartBone, like using the add-on that I made or just doing it manually, to control the turnaround with the second method that I talked about in that video. Or if you're okay with it just not affecting the grease pencil objects, then you could also apply to the first first method. But I just felt that for that use, I would prefer to use a pose library. It's kind of like what we were talking about earlier with like the add versus replace methodology. I was like, in that circumstances, I actually wanted it to replace rather than add. So I used a pose library. I could have used, I totally could have used an action constraint in SmartBones, and then it would have been like adding on top of the pose. Okay. Okay, hang on. I need to take this. Whoa, I don't like that. Hang on. Okay. That's better. I'm also noticing, hang on, I want to get rid of this. There you go. insert blank keyframe. Alright. Boom. it's starting to look pretty good. Right, almost there. Just gonna change the stroke color for the... There we go, so that I can just differentiate it. Whoa. So annoying. Does anyone know how to connect two strokes? Because so far I've felt like I've had to go, like, if I mess up a stroke I have to stop. Whereas if I could just do that and then connect these points, that'd be amazing. But alas, I don't think it's possible. Command J? I haven't tried that. Makes sense though, that's what it is in Thank you so much! I don't know why I didn't think of that. Because, of course, Control J. Oh. I don't know if you saw that very well, but if I do it up here. Oh, dude. I might... Oh, I gotta... That's a lifesaver, honestly. Oh, man, that just takes so much mental strain off this whole process. Now I can just, like, draw it piece by piece. What happens if I just go Control J? Oh, so long as I draw them in order, I don't even have to think about it. Yeah, thanks, dude. Much appreciated. Oh my goodness. Okay. Means I don't have to be so zoomed out. Oh, this is just incredible. Oh no. Oh yeah, that's okay. I just press F. Oh, that is an absolute life changer. This is great. I'm really enjoying this. It was a bit of a pain at first, but I'm getting the hang of it now. Oh man, can you imagine doing like frame by frame animation and doing like cleanup or something, and just being able to just join strokes and know that you're not gonna have to worry about it when it comes to coloring stuff in? Just incredible. Alright, hang on. Oh wait, no, I did that the wrong way. Ooh, message redacted. Wonder what that said. Oh, thanks, Kelly. I really appreciate it. We're just animating the Human Torch again. Although this time we're doing the fire. It's coming along pretty well. Still got some in-betweens to do, but I'm really happy with how it looks so far. Yeah, thanks for the support, Kelly. Much appreciated. I'm thinking when he wipes himself off, I need to have some like soot on him for him to wipe off. But I can get to that later. Right. Back to it. Yeah. Whoa, what happened up here? I feel like I've got so much more control now. Oh, this is amazing. Okay, I've messed this up a little bit. This shouldn't look like this. Gonna get rid of that. Okay. Hey, Savella Nivola. Hey Sketchy, I'm trying to find pre-built Greasebounce characters to practice your hybrid 360 method, so I can just focus on learning the rigging process. Yeah, I saw some of your comments, and my plan is to get those characters from my last video, and I might make a GitHub page or something like that. They'll be freely available. I just need to make sure I get them, put them together, get the file up there, figure something out like that. But yeah, no, I'll try and get that out soon. But thanks for leaving those comments though, because I honestly I didn't even think about it until you mentioned it. Microphone so far away. Sorry, is this better? Testing, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I think you're right. It's very nerve-wracking for me to upload a rigged character, because it's one thing for me to show it in a positive light, but you know, it's another thing to just give it out publicly and other people can go, oh, this is kind of rubbish actually, or I don't know how people react. Hopefully they'll like it. Do you work in the biggest city in New Zealand, Sketchy? Yes, I'm currently working in Auckland. It's the biggest city, has 1 million people about, which is not a big city, but for New Zealand it is. Okay. If you release a 2D rig for Grease Pencil, what would anyone compare it to? There are none. Yeah, no, that's a good point, you know? If I release my rigs, what are people going to complain? You know, it's better than nothing, surely. Unless they say it's worse than just like drawing it frame by frame, which hopefully it's not, right? Right? No, the concepts are working within Blender's constraints, no pun intended, which is remarkable since it's not traditionally a 2D software. Yeah, you're right. Honestly, I'm amazed by what Blender can do, and I think that part of it is because it's open source, right? Like when a software is proprietary and for profit, they tend to prioritize, like the way that it gets developed tends to prioritize getting new users and keeping existing users, right? Which makes sense. But I think what that ends up doing is it means that certain things become not super, like they'll add a feature that solves a problem, right? But it only solves that problem. Whereas the way that I feel like open source software tends to be developed, it can be a bit slower, and it takes a while for open source software to catch up to proprietary software. But the way that it's developed, it's more like we're not going to just add a solution that fixes a problem. We're going to make sure that the structure is there so that there are no problems, you know? And so you can do anything. Is this flame going to be stylized? Yes, very stylized. Things like your smart bones or 360 turnarounds are very clever. I think that's exactly what I'm talking about though, is it's like creating something that it was never designed to do is something that's a lot easier to do in open source software, at least in my experience, than in closed source software. Adobe has showed us the price. Adobe has showed us the price of greed as well as Autodesk. Yeah, you're spot on. Although I think what I'm getting at kind of applies to all closed source software, even the companies that actually I'm happy to give my money to, right? Like Lost Marble, the people who make Moho. I love the fact that they have a perpetual license for their software, right? So that when you buy it, you know. Um, but I still think that they've got limited systems because of their closed source, you know, the nature of closed source software. Blender's physics, 3D, etc. Are head and shoulders above 360 options for 2D software like Clip Studio Paint, Toon Boom, After Effects. It's rubbish. 2.5D. Wait. Blender's physics, 3D, etc. are head and shoulders above 360 options. Are you saying Blender's rubbish at 2.5D? So are you saying like just using the 3D options is better than using the turnaround features in something like Moho or Toon Boom? Moho is okay software, but its whole not being able to draw after frame one thing is a perpetual drag. Yeah, I see what you mean. And I think it's the kind of thing that you get used to, and it kind of makes sense in the way that it works. Um, but yeah, no, it is a bit odd in that regard. And Toon Boom feels like you're programming versus creating 2D art. I love the way Toon Boom feels like programming. It's like it does it in a way that you never feel limited, you know, but you never feel slowed down too much by all the technical stuff. Or at least in my experience, you know. Oh yeah. No, I see what you mean. You're right. For some reason, well, no, it actually it makes so much sense. Like, yeah, you're right. Toon Boom has 3D features. Nobody ever uses the 3D features in Toon Boom. Moho has 3D features. Again, nobody ever uses it. Clip Studio Paint. I think people do use the 3D features in Clip Studio Paint, just as like pose references, but no one would like include it in the final drawing. And it's still super limited. Whereas in Blender, it's like, because it's a 3D software with 2D added on top, it is actually pretty good at both. Like, it's amazing at the 3D stuff, of course. But yeah, if you want to do any sort of 2D 3D integration, Blender's the way to go, because otherwise you're gonna struggle with any other option. Yeah, exactly. Same with After Effects. It's the only one. It's the only one like that. Do you mean like, do you like the 3D features in After Effects? I know that people do use the 3D features in After Effects, but I would admit I haven't actually used it myself. But I'd imagine it's not amazing, right? But maybe I'm wrong. Um, do you have your hands in every software, Sketchy? Not quite. There's one software called Cell Action that I haven't used. It's what was used to make Bluey, and it looks really interesting. And it looks like they've got a really interesting way of rigging, and I'd love to use it, but We'll see. Maybe one day I'll get the opportunity. But you know, it's another subscription software, so it's like I don't really want to pay for it. But I might get a job with it one day. That'd be cool. But yeah, no, I would like to have my hands in every software. I think I love learning new software. Oh, you don't like the 3D features in After Effects? Super slow, single threaded, and expand expression based for everything. Oh, I hate rigging. Oh man, I spent about 6 months last year doing part-time work, doing rigged animation in After Effects, and it was awful. Oh my goodness. Like I'm happy with the quality of work I created, and people like I was doing it for social media, so and people were commenting, "Wow, these animations look so good." But but yeah, it's just let me see if I can find it. Some of the work that I did. So the way that it worked was they had an illustrator who they were like cutting down these interviews into these short form content. Then they'd have an illustrator create some illustrations, and then they'd have me rig it up and animate it, and then they'd cut it together with the interview, and they'd put out a YouTube short or an Instagram reel or something. It was for Digital Spaghetti. If I go to shorts and I find one that I worked on. Oh yeah, that was a... Wait, hang on. Sorry, let me just... I'm almost there. Oh yeah, so this is a good example. So this is OK Go. They make some pretty cool music videos, and yeah, it's cool. And so I did the animation in between like this, and it was just I'm happy with what I created, and the illustrations were great that I received. But man, After Effects is not good for rigging or animation. It's good for compositing, but oh man, the rigging is just awful. Um, After Effects is so behind in rigging. It's just terrible. And the thing is, so many people use it because they start using After Effects for something that it's good at, like compositing, and then they don't want to learn a new software, so they just figure it out in After Effects, which I can appreciate if you're doing simple stuff. But people go so far and they sell add-ons to make rigging like usable in After Effects for like hundreds of dollars, and it's ridiculous. How long will this fire take? I'm not really sure. Less time if I stop getting distracted. But we're almost there actually. Like we've only got one, two. Oh, why is that? Oh, okay. We've got one. Oh, only one frame left. Nice. Yeah, you need joysticks and sliders, rubber hose, limber, jerk, etc. Yeah, it's ridiculous that people use it professionally for rigged animation, and then it's so slow as well. Like the rigs are super limited that you can create, even after you install all these super expensive plugins. And then it's just you click and drag something from one spot to another, and it takes forever to update. It's just not meant to be used for animation, and people need to stop it. People say that software doesn't matter, but it does matter. Like, you really should use something that's meant for the thing you're using it for. Hang on, I just discovered. Okay. how did I get connected with OkGo? I didn't. So I was working for like a motion graphics kind of ad agency type thing, and they were connected to the people who made Patreon, and they were making a bunch of uh, social media content where they were like interviewing different creators, and one of the people they're interviewing was OkGo, and so they interviewed them. Then the ad agency I was working for, it's not really an ad agency, I don't know what to call it, but it's like a marketing thing, I don't know. Anyway, they cut it down to a short form content. They got an illustrator to illustrate the things that they were talking about, and they got me to animate it. So it's very indirect connection. But I got to very indirectly work with some really cool people, like Captain Disillusion. He had an interview, and I really enjoyed working on his videos. That was cool. Even got to use Blender briefly for one of those. Honestly, I don't think I used the puppet pins feature. Or maybe I did once, but it was like already set up by one of the other people there. I'm not a fan of the puppet pins tool either. I mean, I guess it depends on what you're using it for, but people use it for the wrong thing, you know? Captain Disillusion does rock, you're right. In Toon Boom, that would be Deformer, Mesh, or Mesh Warp. Yeah, Toon Boom's deformers are amazing though. Like, I think in After Effects, when you create the pin puppet system, it generates like a 3D mesh, which is how most software that does that sort of thing does it. And it's just a bit janky, just a little bit. Whereas I don't know how Toon Boom has done it, but you just create an envelope around the thing, and it just deforms exactly as you want it to every time, pretty much. Sometimes you have to add a what's it called, a weighted deformer node, so that it like deforms the inside of the shape how you want it. But it's just I don't know how they do it. It's incredible. There probably is some sort of mesh system underneath it all, but yeah. Have you thought about doing that in Blender, like using a 3D plane with weights? Yeah, if I go to sketchysquirrel.com, which just redirects to my YouTube channel, I did something similar in this video where Huion sent me a tablet. This one here. I made this project by drawing it in Krita, and then eventually I got around to... So I just import the planes, and then I'd retopologize it. I did this manually. I know there are add-ons out there that do this sort of thing for you, but I just wanted to have it exactly how I wanted it, you know, so that I could deform it just right, you know. And so that's kind of what After Effects is doing automatically. Though I think I did a better job than any automatic uh, grid like mesh generation thing. Yeah. Have you thought about doing that with Blender, like use 3D plane for weights? For 2D, oh, that's great. The hair. Yeah, I was really happy with the hair. Oh, sorry. I'm actually using the tablet that I was sent right now. It's a good one. Where's the final result? Anyway, yeah, I was really happy with this project. Where's the link? I'll post it just now. Hang on, I'll just copy the link and put it in the chat. Share, copy link, paste. It's not exactly a tutorial. It was more like a review of the tablet that I was sent. But you should be able to get a general idea of how to approach that sort of project. I've already been streaming for 2 hours. Man, that went fast. Alright, I'll turn on the fill again, turn off the stroke for this. Alright. Okay, I definitely don't like that color. I think it should be, if I just select this color, I'm not gonna do that, but it's kind of a blue, so it should be the opposite, it should be there. That kind of color. Yeah, I'm really happy with that. Look at us go. Oh, it's 7 o'clock. How'd that happen? Should probably go make myself some dinner. Yeah, I'm really happy with the progress we made so far today. Yeah, thanks everyone for joining me. I really had a good time chatting with you all, and hopefully we'll be back soon to do maybe some background art for this project or some compositing, maybe a bit of both, that sort of thing. Thank you, Quiet Parallax, much appreciated. Am I going to watch the new Game of Thrones show, Sketchy? Probably not. I never got into the original. I didn't even know there was going to be a new one. But yeah, thanks guys. Alright, I'm going to just